Okay, we are live. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're live. But we got to let it breathe just for a moment here. Take it all in. Get that O2 in you. Hang tight. Hang tight. Gear up. Get ready. Welcome in. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him. He is the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com, Zack Kelberman. Zack, I noticed that you are rocking a particular piece of MHH merch. Love it. It's a dope hat. I too am rocking a particular piece of MHH merch. Actually says, as you can see, Broncos country isn't a geographic location, it's a state of being. We have a brand new t-shirt that we think y'all are going to love. Premium, on point, on brand. Y'all are going to love it. We'll put the link in the chat. Check it out when you get some time. But in the spirit of the Denver Broncos new head coach, Sean Payton, and the catchphrase he wants y'all to take hold of, really. I mean, Gary Kubiak, Zach, he had iron sharpens iron, fixing to find out. Sean Payton, he's got chasing the chicken. And the penultimate one, guys, you know what it is. Buckham. Hashtag Buckham. Brand new t-shirt and a brand new URL. All right. MHHmerch.com. Hopefully, can you see that better, Zach?
Yeah, it looks good.
So it's a simple yet elegant design. Okay. It's the Sean Payton visor and his new catchphrase. So go crush the link. All right. We'll put it in the chat. We'll also put it after the stream. We'll put it in the description of the video. Get yourselves a Buckham t-shirt because I'm telling you right now, they're going to sell like hotcakes. All right. And we're going to be doing some drawings and some raffles, giving a few of these t-shirts out. Dope stuff. Zach, you were stoked on this design.
I went crazy. I think it's fi-fi, Chad, and by that I mean fire. I just love the uniqueness of it. I love how simple it is. Better than Let's Ride on a shirt, but the visor that puts it over the top for me. I bought one. Chad bought one. I think you guys should too. We're gonna rock it on the show very soon. Kind of give a scratch and sniff, as Chad likes to say. But I am super pumped about this new line of merch we're releasing.
We'll call that the sponsor of tonight's show. Indeed, the MHH merch store, mhhmerch.com, sponsoring the veritable Mile High Huddle podcast. But Zach, before we dive into the main topic of tonight's stream, I just want to say what's up to a few people like Riptie hanging in the chat early. William, what's up, bro? Flazify in the hizzy. Sam Bam throwing down a super chat early. Appreciate you, big dog, saying, good evening, Chad and Zach. We're on to 2023, and the Broncos are undefeated right now. Go Broncos. Hey, that's right. Square one, baby. And yeah, square one is 0-0, undefeated. Yeah, it's going to be a good year. If nothing else, Zach, I think it's going to be at least an entertaining 2023 and more, not so much like last year where it's like when you're driving down the road and you pass by a gnarly wreck, you can't help but kind of rubberneck and like look at it, what it was. That's kind of what this past season felt like. You couldn't help but watch. You're like, oh no, oh. But this time you're going to be watching because you're going to be fully compelled and into it and passionate. I'm stoked on 2023.
I am as well. And I said it yesterday, take this day to kind of drown your sorrows and revel in the misery that is another Kansas City Super Bowl. But by tomorrow, just turn the page. Everyone's 0-0, and the Broncos have to focus on the Broncos. They should be an improved team, and not just by our word. We had the article. I think Keith wrote it up earlier about Clark Hunt, the owner of the Chiefs, who said the Broncos should be better under Sean Payton. So the trajectory finally, after that train wreck, after the VJ train wreck and the Vic Fangio train wreck, the arrow is legitimately pointing upward, and that's what we have to focus on going forward.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a gas. And in between now and when the off-season training program kicks off, we've got some tentpole moments. I mean, we've got the combine coming up. We've got free agency in the new league year coming up. Then we got the draft. Then we'll get to OTAs. We'll start getting a hint of what this team is going to look like under Sean Payton. But lots and lots to look forward to before the cleats even hit the grass officially for your Denver Broncos. Big Earn, good to see you, bro. I saw the second half of that and went, oh, can't flash that one too long. Mike, what's up, bro? Great to see you. Appreciate you, big dog. Woofy, what is going on, dude? Love it. Appreciate you. He says, love you guys. Long-time listener. First time. Super awesome, dude. Mile high salute. Hashtag MHH. Right back at you, big dog. Thank you for the super chat. Means a lot to us. It's not nothing. Zach and I appreciate when anybody takes, even if it's a nickel from their hard-earned money, the time you trade for dollars to support what we do. Love it. Appreciate it. Seriously, helps us keep the lights on here and helps this content continue to 7 nights a week, right? We're here 7 nights a week. Wolfie, don't forget to connect with us on Twitter. All right, we'll keep the conversation going there, big dog.
Even if it's not a nickel, we genuinely just love your guys' interaction and the commentary that it provides and the entertainment that we get from doing this. Chad and I 3 nights a week. Woofy Mellet, though, definitely one of the more interesting names in the MHH Manger. So welcome, and we hope you stick around.
Big Earn, he's loving the t-shirt. Awesome shirt. Mike saying, "Yo, I'm gonna snap that up on Thursday." Love it. We like it. Drake Wally in the house. What's up, Drake? Does a lot of good content over on the our Colts sister site, Horseshoe Huddle. So go check out his stuff. Really, really good writer. He's saying for Plan B, it just seems perfect. So let me set the stage. First things first. All right, before we get to Drake. Greg Rosenthal, an NFL.com writer, formerly of NBC Sports and Pro Football Talk fame, he basically, Zach, pounds the table for the Broncos to go out and find a plan B at quarterback. And the long and short of it, I'll pull it up here in a little bit and we'll read exactly what he had to say. But the long and short of it is that you can't trust Russell Wilson sunk so far in 2022 that you can't trust even the great Sean Payton to bring him back to the level. So you need a plan B. So with that said, let me read Drake's super chat, and then I'm serving this over to you, Zach. He says, for plan B, it just seems perfect to get Teddy, he of the Bridgewater fame. He was very efficient in New Orleans with Sean Payton, and I think would be just fine under his umbrella of tutelage. Once again, you should write a song, Drake, called Umbrella of Tutelage, all right? Especially those weapons. Zach, your thoughts?
Umbrella, Ella. Sorry, the Rihanna halftime performance yesterday. God, stuck with me. Let me first disagree with what Greg with 2 G's Rosenthal is positing. The Broncos need a plan B. I mean, that's his opinion. It's subjective as to how you view Russell Wilson. But I feel like even putting this blurb out there leads me to believe that he's in the camp that thinks Russ is irreparable and unsalvageable and unfixable, and he's just on a spiral downward. I don't happen to subscribe to that. I don't think you do either, Chad, especially now with Sean Payton in the mix and a better coaching staff, offensive line, weapons, yada, yada. We should see a competent top 15, maybe top 12, top 10 quarterback, which would be more than great. I do think the Broncos need a better backup, but that's just because you need a better backup. You can't rely on the Josh Johnsons or Brett Rippons or Jarrett Guarantano, those kind of people. You need a young, up-and-coming quarterback, preferably in the pipeline for Sean Payton and Ronald Curry, whoever the OC is going to be, to develop and form a long-standing plan behind Russell Wilson. But that's not because I think Russ is shot. That's not because I think that quarterback should be replacing Russ. I just think you always have to be prepared and have that emergency option as best you can.
And you know what? All those games Drew Brees started in New Orleans, Sean always had a plan B. I trust Sean Payton to have whatever his prime idea of what plan B looks like relative to the Broncos' actual options. As Nick Kendall wrote, so the article covering what Rosenthal said today was written by Nick Kendall, who's actually still on vacation. But he went on to list, Zach, that, you know, once you get past the big four of this quarterback class in the 2023 NFL draft, drops off, the talent does precipitously, right off a cliff. And so, you know, if you're looking to the draft for that plan B, you might want to kick the can down the road and maybe partake in the veteran free agent market. We'll see how it shakes out. We can continue to familiarize ourselves with what that quarterback free agent class looks like this year. But big Phil, real quick, big comment here from Phil McLaughlin, jumping in down in Tucson. One of our most outgoing, vociferous supporters on Facebook. Love you, big dog. He says, great looking t-shirt. Go Broncos. Buck them. If you guys are just joining us, go and get the brand new MHH t-shirt. You can see it on the screen now. Hashtag Buck them. You got the visor. Go get it. We put the link in the chat. Appreciate you, Phil. We got another one here from Chris Chances. Love you, Chris. You the man. He says, Chad, Zach, Scott, still the best in the business. My profile picture is Darth Revan. Star Wars nerd I am. Dude, I am too, but here's the problem, bro. Chris, quick tangent, Zach, all right? Chris, I got to ask you something, all right? Did the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy kind of take the bloom off the rose? I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a little kid. Like my 1.5-year-old son Theo, what he watches, when he's allotted TV time, he's watching like Baby Shark, he's watching some Pixar shows, whatnot. In my day, all there was Star Wars, dude. So like I was huge on Star Wars. I read all the books as a teenager, the expanded universe. Stoked when Disney bought it. I'm like, sick. They're going to start making more movies, some TV shows. And then the sequel trilogy was lame. And it kind of diminished my passion for Star Wars. But I'm right there with you, Chris. I'm right there with you, big dog. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Greg wants to know, Zach, does that shirt only come in orange or can we get it in white or blue? We are going to put some blue options up probably tonight. We'll take care of that. But there will be a blue option for this here Buckham t-shirt. YouTube, that's with a B. Buckham. What do you think, Zach? You think it'll look good with the Buckham in orange and the visor in orange and the shirt in blue?
Yeah, I think a navy main color with like a orange font or white font would look pretty nice. But I saw on my phone chat we already had an order for the shirt. So like you said earlier, these are going to go fast. If you guys want one, I suggest you hop on to the New Look website and get you a Sean Payton, kind of a welcome, not a parting gift, but a welcome gift from Broncos country to yourselves, celebrating Sean Payton's arrival. But real quick, before we get to Rip Tie, I want to address the previous comment from Drake. I don't mind the idea of upgrading on Brett Rippon, but I do wonder, considering also we saw him firsthand, how much of an upgrade would Teddy be, even with the Sean Payton connection and his tutelage? I would aim a little higher. So if they're going to spend some money, and they are going to be aggressive, that's what George Payton already said. If they're going to upgrade the quarterback room, I would aim maybe toward the Jacoby Brissett tier than I would settle for someone like Teddy B, who is what he is, And for someone like Sean Payton, he said his one virtue when he hires a coach is someone who loves football. Well, I never got that impression too much from Teddy. I don't really think he loves football all that much. And I know he's not a coach, but that's got to be a guiding principle that Sean Payton would use to find Russell Wilson's backup. So just aim a little higher for the QB.
Somewhere right now, Scott Kennedy is like eating his heart out, as you say. Teddy Bridgewater does not love football. Scott loves Teddy. I don't know what it is, dude. Scott loves Teddy.
He still threw a hospital ball to KJ Hamler. I will die on that hill. I do not care what Scott says.
Scott's seeing red right now. Wherever he is,
he's shaking his head like this furiously.
Rip Tie, bro, thanks for getting in early in the chat, getting the convo going. We do appreciate that. And for the super chat, you demand, saying Aiden O'Connell, 4th round. Yeah, there will be some options in the middle rounds. But those middle round quarterbacks, look, they come with middle round expectations. That's not to say that a mid-round pick can't turn into a Russell Wilson, former 3rd rounder, or a Dak Prescott. What was he, Zach, a 4th or a 3rd? Tom Brady, a 6th-round pick. I mean, these are the exceptions, though, that prove the rule. Hard to find franchise quarterbacks in the middle rounds. But, yeah, there are some interesting guys the Broncos could use. But here's the thing is, I think if the idea is, hey, plan B, and you need to upgrade behind Russ, you need to upgrade Brett Rippon and find a quarterback that is a perfect fit for what Sean Payton does. Look, you don't really have the extra draft picks to go throwing it into a quarterback that's going to be a rookie. Even if you have to use him in 2023, you're not going to be getting that great of a return. I'm saying, no. Wait on that, maybe one more year. You get to see what Russ, whether or not he sinks or swims with Sean Payton. Zach and I both are optimistic that he's going to swim. And then instead you use some of those salary cap dollars and go find yourself a competent veteran. Zach, you landed on Jacoby Brissett. That's a guy that I would like to see. Nick Kendall in the article, he spent half the, 1,300 words gushing about Jacoby Brissett. No lie. So I wouldn't hate it. But yeah, you need an upgrade. And Brett Rippon, hey, dude, he endeared himself to me by going at the Broncos O-line and getting in Dalton Reisner's face saying, pick him up when no one would pick Russ. None of the O-linemen would pick Russ up when he was getting sacked and hit. So he endeared himself to me, and I think to a lot of the hearts within Broncos country. But at the same time, you got to call a spade in terms of what he provides to you on the field in those moments. And it's obviously, Zach, I guess the best thing I could say is it's replacement level backup quarterback stuff. So you need a guy that's more like fringe level starter to truly upgrade and have that plan B in the event Russ does fail to launch. I don't expect it to happen or gets hurt. Last 2 years, Zach, he's gotten hurt quite a bit. So now you gotta factor that into the calculus.
That's a great way to put that. You want a fringe level starter as your backup. And that's why Taylor Heineke is another one. If he gets out of Washington, not necessarily a franchise quarterback, but would be one of the best backups in the NFL. You also mentioned a good point that franchise quarterbacks are hard to find. That's no secret there. But the thing is, you look at a quarterback with a first-round pedigree like Daniel Jones. He looked reinvented this year. You look at a quarterback like Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft. He looked like a franchise quarterback. What's the one common denominator with those two guys? Excellent coaching. So as long as you have that coach in place, as long as you have that elite level instruction, it doesn't really matter who you have behind Russ or with Russ himself. You're going to get a bump because of that coach. Just like we thought the Broncos would be getting under Nathaniel Hackett. They're going to actually get under Sean Payton.
Drake with Super Chat number 2. Thank you, big dog, saying you guys rock. Here's another. After hearing Zach, I do got to say, if anyone can help Russ get back to stardom, it's Peyton without question, I believe. Thank you, Drake. Appreciate that. Zach, your thoughts. And then we've got a top roper from Naj.
Yeah, thank you, Drake, for the nice shout out there. I don't know. See, stardom is subjective to me because is stardom top 5, top 10? Is it a certain number of touchdowns, a certain number of yards? I think any of us would settle for consistent, reliable, and just good. If he's a top 12 guy and he's consistent and not losing you games, paired with the defense the Broncos will have that'll be returning and their foundation, you can win ball games. And just having that coach puts you over the top. And Drake, you cover the Colts. You'll find that out because they're going to hire Shane Steichen, the Eagles OC. That's going to be a bump up for the Colts based on the virtue of coaching alone. So we're all psyched that Sean Payton's around. And I know that you would like to see Teddy B, but I just go a little higher than someone who's so mid to me at quarterback.
Especially in Denver where you've been there, done that. I don't know that Teddy, even the lure of Sean Payton, I'm not sure he would want to come back for a guaranteed backup job in Denver where things didn't exactly go swimmingly for him. He had the arguably, Zach, like that one, what would be a good word for it? I'll just say mar on his NFL resume with the business decision he made when Darius Slay was returning that fumble. He might not want to stir up those ghosts of the days of the past. So we'll see. Naj, what up, bro? Seriously,
Naj.
Love you, Naj.
Thank you.
You are a prince. All right. You know how much we love you. The lore surrounding your name within the MHH culture is considerable. Thank you, bro. He says, hey, brothers, watching Andy Reid call those incredible red zone plays validates the importance of brilliant coaching. We needed Sean Payton to compete, and we got him. I feel the same about Russ. I fully believe in him, and we need him at his best to beat the Chiefs. Yeah, agreed. You know, the Chiefs are not impervious to losing. I mean, this is a team that no team is infallible. And the Broncos, amid this, what is it now, Zach? I think it's 15 games. Gosh damn. 15-game losing streak, okay? The vast majority of those in the last 3 or 4 years, I'll say 3 or 4 years, we're talking single-score games where if you just had competence offensively, you're probably winning half of those games, half of them. You got to see in the Super Bowl last night 2 just very competent, explosive offenses going toe-to-toe, and it was fun to see. I mean, that's what gets the butts in seats, and that's what's ultimately, Zach, going to make the difference on when the Broncos snap the streak and get back to being the 800-pound gorilla in the AFC West. It starts with getting Russ back to the player of old. And I think, again, I agree. I really am optimistic that, when you surveyed the candidate field this year in the head coaching cycle, Zach, one guy rose to the top with the best odds, best resume for effectuating that, bringing Russell back, and that's Sean Payton. Jim Harbaugh would have been my next guy, but even he doesn't have the same quarterback whispering resume at this level that Sean Payton does.
The thing with Andy Reid that no one wants to admit in Broncos country, especially since that win yesterday is still very raw, is that he is up there with, Mount Rushmore of coaches. To me, I mean, what he's done, what he did in Philadelphia, what he's done in Kansas City, 2 different franchises, multiple Super Bowl wins, and the fact that, like you mentioned, Naj, his play calling and play design and always keeping the defense on their toes, never showing the same look twice. There's not a lot of Andy Reids out there. Similar to Mahomes, not a lot of Mahomes out there either. And I don't think it's too negative for me to say that Sean Payton maybe is not Andy Reid and Russell Wilson is not Patrick Mahomes, but they don't have to be. Chad hit on the word. I've been, pounding the table, saying the same word for a year now, competency. And I've been saying this since 2017. They don't need necessarily an all-pro quarterback or an all-pro offense. They just need to be good and consistent and reliable and work in tandem with the defense, pull their own weight. That's all we ask at a bare minimum. And the jury, I guess, is still out on Russell Wilson and what he can do. Chad and I are both optimistic. A lot of Broncos fans are still optimistic, but indisputably, Sean Payton is going to bring to the Broncos something they haven't had maybe since Mike Shanahan, just the offensive game planning, the play calling, the play design, the flow of the game. He's an elite coach. Maybe not Andy Reid, but they don't need an Andy Reid to compete with Kansas City. They've showed that over the course of the last 5 years. They might not have won games against them, but they've come really, really close. And really close, no one really wants to hear that, only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but it gives you a little bit of glimmer of hope for the future. And now the future is set to be here.
That's a good point, too, because remember, you can go, oh, wait a minute, Mike Shanahan, what about the Peyton Manning days? That was like Peyton Manning, the quarterback, calling his own offense. I mean, look at what happened to each and every coordinator that was involved in the play calling outside of Coob, all right, outside of the Super Bowl year. What happened to Mike McCoy? Flamed out everywhere else he went. Couldn't quite even come close, let's be honest, regain the swagger and production that he had calling plays with, I'm not going to say for, I'm going to say with Peyton Manning. Same with Adam Gase. But having that coaching, just that next level innovation, vision, man, this team has been dying for it. The Duchess in the house, Michaela Parker. She is legendary. She is an official, bona fide Mount Rushmore MHH Super Chat superstar, and she is near and dear to our hearts. Love you, Michaela. Hope you're doing well. She says, I would love Taylor Heineke. Who do you think our coaching what do you think our coaching staff will look like? Zach, do you have any predictions on this front? Because Sean Payton sniffing around Ronald Curry, former New Orleans, or I guess, is he still New Orleans running backs coach? And, Joe Lombardi's still out there, possibility, as we're talking offensive coordinators here. Defensive coordinator, last story. I mean, the two real names being linked to the Bronco job now are Sean Desai and good old Rex Ryan. So what do you think the coaching staff's going to look like?
I thought Ronald Curry was quarterback's coach. Maybe I was mistaken, but
no, you're probably right. What you wrote the article.
Yeah, and he was a receiver for the Raiders, so he has some of that duality from player to coach. We haven't heard much, and Sean Payton gave an interview, I believe it was during Super Bowl week, where he said, hire slow and fire fast. He believes in a very diligent process, and he wants to get the right guys in the building, and by right, like he said, guys who are obsessed with winning and love the game of football. All we know right now is Zach Strief, the former Saints lineman, is set to be the Broncos OL coach, but that hasn't been officially announced. And we know that a lot of incumbents from the Vic Fangio era, the Nathaniel Hackett era, as short as that was, they're out the door. Dom Capers just followed Ejiro Evero to Carolina. They let go of their linebackers coach, and a lot of also holdovers are in a holding pattern, so to speak, like Zach Azani. Who else am I thinking of? The running backs coach already left, Tyrone Wheatley. Zach Azani, there's Christian Parker, the secondary coach. That's one I would want to keep Michaela. He's done a really good job with the defensive backs, but we haven't heard much come out of Dove Valley in terms of Sean Payton's staff.
He has kept it very in the vest. He's been very, very careful. And in his initial statement, being introduced as Denver Broncos head coach, he's like, y'all are going to ask me what coaches I'm going to bring in, and I'm not going to answer it. So that'll take shape as it's meant to take shape. I mean, expect to see this staff mostly filled out by either coaches that Sean Payton has worked with in the past, or some association with coaches who are familiar with his scheme. In other words, candidates that spring off trees from somewhere. If the Sean Payton coaching tree is a mighty oak, right? Then you've got all these different branches that have sprung out. Something like that. Sam Bam, what's up, bro? Good to see you again. Throwing down number 2, bro. Food for thought, he says. Andy Reid was 58 when Mahomes was drafted. Sean Payton just turned 59. So if Russ doesn't improve, could you see the Broncos going all in the 2024 draft to get that franchise quarterback? Yes. If Russ doesn't launch in 2023, that then becomes priority number 1. And I think this is a team with the deep pockets and we'll call it front office vision and coaching vision to go hard after solving that, whether it's in the draft or another veteran. I doubt veteran at this point. Maybe Sean Payton wants to draft his own quarterback, Zach, if it doesn't work with Russ.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, he's here under contract. Peyton is for 5 years. At some point, he's going to want to handpick his own quarterback and not be saddled with the incumbent. But you got to let it ride for a year. You got to let the process play out and see what he can do. That's part of the reason, or largely the reason he was hired, was to fix Russ or get Russ back to playing at a top 10, top 12 level. The thing is, though, to go all in would suggest the Broncos are going to be in a position to get that franchise quarterback in 2024. I don't see them being bad enough. And I know I said it last year, but they'd have to finish, 2-15 or whatever, 3-14 to get a top 5 pick to land that franchise quarterback. Or else the other option, if you're picking in the teens or the 20s, is to trade up for that franchise quarterback. And would the Broncos want to do that coming off the Russ experiment after giving up so much capital for him, after giving up so much capital for Sean Payton? At some point, they cannot keep kicking the can down the road. They need those draft picks. They need the players in the pipeline. So all in, it's way too soon for me to embark down that path, even theoretically. I'm still very confident that Sean Payton can fix Russ.
I am too. Gary, good to see you, bro. The swashbuckler himself. Maybe we'll make you a special T-shirt that just says the swashbuckler. Gary Palmer. This dude goes hard. And for his relative age, let me just say, we were impressed. All right, this dude, you want hashtag extreme competency. This man right here says, I don't doubt that Peyton is the man, but he is still human. So keeping my optimism in check. MHH for life. Hashtag Buckham. Yes, GLP. We got to get you one of these T-shirts, big dog. We got to get you one. It'll look good on you. Yeah, he is still human. As we talked about last night, Zach and I probably learned, maybe we're a little traumatized, not to a point where we're in the corner, rocking back and forth, sucking our thumbs. But last offseason, the expectation level rises so high in the wake of the Russell Wilson acquisition. And then, of course, the Nathaniel Hackett hire, there was optimism that it's like, okay, we can start really going into assume this is going to be a competitive team mode. And that blew up in everybody's face. Now I'm a little bit reluctant, Zach, at this point to go making any bold predictions because last year was like so many what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like unprecedented is really all I can come up with. Inexplicable. But I'm telling you right now, feeling really good about what the future holds for Russell Wilson. And if the future is bright for Russ with Sean Payton, that means the future is going to be bright for your Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I think it's partly the reason why egg prices are so sky high is we're still wiping it off our faces, Chad, from last year with Nathaniel Hackett. And listen, we weren't delusional about that either. We both said there's going to be hiccups. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be losses. They're not going to go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl in Nathaniel Hackett's first year. Same thing for Sean Payton. They're going to lose games. There's going to be an adjustment period. It's not going to all be sunshine and rainbows, but this finally feels different. And it is different because you're not gambling on a first-time coach. You're not gambling on the unknown. You got one of the best coaches of this generation who's done nothing or did nothing in New Orleans but win in different circumstances with different quarterbacks and personnel. That's what he did. The Broncos have a winner and an adult leading the room, leading the stable. That's all we can hope for, and we'll take it one step at a time going forward.
Antonio in the house with the super chat. Thank you, bro. Great to see you. Been with us a long time. Definitely a bona fide super chat superstar. He says, what's up, my dudes? Can't wait to see the club dub in the Mile High. Hashtag Broncos country. We're right there with you, big dog. Thank you for the support. It's great to see you. Robot of Doom, I don't think he's trolling. I think he's honest here in terms of plan B upgrading behind Russell Wilson. He's saying, cough, cough, get Drew Lock. And as you know, guys, we try to get at least one Twitch comment or question on each and every stream. And that's it for tonight. Not to say we won't grab another one, but Robot of Doom saying, advocating, Zach, for Drew Lock to be that upgrade behind Russ. Too much water under that bridge, though, you think?
Yeah, I'm actually scrolling through the comments to see how much crap Robot's getting from even suggesting the Broncos reunite with Drew Lock. I don't know that he'd want to come back to Denver, and I don't know that Denver would want to have him back. It was a very acrimonious ending to the Drew Lock and Broncos marriage, and they moved on for a reason. They need to look elsewhere for the QB2.
And just tumultuous. Some really high moments. I mean, not just his rookie year, the 4-1, that was great. But year two, after the injury, got pretty ugly. But he had a couple of tentpole moments, even his last year in Denver. So his year three, couple of games where you're like, okay, this is what it could be. I would love to see Drew Lock, what it would look like, not necessarily in Denver anymore, guys. We got a plan A, right? I'm reminded of John Elway being asked when the Broncos won the Peyton Manning sweepstakes. But hey, John, we're talking about an injured Peyton Manning. He missed last year, all of last year for the Colts. 4 neck surgeries. Do you have a plan B? What's your plan B? He said, plan B? The heck with plan B. We're going with plan A. And there's a hubris there, but anybody who understands the principles of success, there is some genius in what he's saying, what Elway said in that moment, which is plan B, you go into it saying on some base level that there's an expectation of failure. No. We're not even going to countenance that. We're going plan A. Next question. And I think, honestly, for the most part, Zach, remember, the title of tonight's stream is based off one, albeit, been in the business a long time, but one NFL writer's opinion that the Broncos need an upgrade behind Russell Wilson. Drew Lock would be interesting. I just don't think that would ever happen.
Yeah, you're 1,000% correct. You don't pay Sean Payton $18 million and pull him out of retirement and off the Fox set and give up the draft picks to talk about him coaching Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. You did that for him to coach Russell Wilson, a 9-time Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion, formerly known as one of the best quarterbacks, a top 5 quarterback in the league. That's why you're focused on plan A. That's why you can't deviate, because you're right, Chad. You start thinking about bringing back Drew Lock or hanging your hopes on Teddy or Jacoby Brissett. It's a loser's mentality. And I can promise you Sean Payton does not think that way.
Amen. Dave, already getting that shirt ordered. We're seeing the orders roll in real time. So much love and respect to you, Dave, for ordering the t-shirt, supporting the cause at MHH, and of course, throwing down a super chat to boot. He says, got my shirt ordered. I like the orange and blue. Would be awesome, meaning he wants a blue version. All right. We're going to get that done. Trust. I could probably be okay, he says, with Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator. Our defense would be aggressive and entertaining. That it would. That it would. We could get into the schematics, but the last defense Rex ran in Buffalo was like it was like an amalgam of a 3-4, a 4-3 under, and a 46 defense, which his dad, of course, Buddy Ryan, the late, great Buddy Ryan, was the brainchild behind that 46 defense. Everyone thinks about the 85 Chicago Bears. That was the 46 defense. And what he's known for from like a principal perspective is very aggressive blitzer.
Yeah.
A lot of zero coverage, a lot of man, and a lot of blitzing. So it would be an interesting kind of, not so much the zone stuff. Like, he was always very much reliant on man coverage, but it would look a lot closer, at least to the average Broncos fan, to the kind of vibe and energy and attack that the Broncos defense had under Wade Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty up close and personal view of the Rex Ryan experience. Those who know. Very, like Chad said, aggressive coach, and he thrived in New York by having obviously a solid pass rush, but also a very stout secondary. He had Darrelle Revis, he had Antonio Cromartie, he had ball hawks, he had lockdown corners, and you already would have that already in place in Denver, obviously with Pat Surtain. Damari Mathis looks good. Justin Simmons is obviously an elite safety. Caden Stearns can still be something. So he would have the tools in place, but you have to upgrade the pass rush a little more. Nick Benito didn't do a lot for me off the edge. Bradley Chubb, the pass rush fell off after he was gone. The interior with DJ Jones, Draymond before he got hurt wasn't cutting it. So if the Broncos do go for Rex Ryan, I would expect them to put an emphasis on edge rushers and defensive line interior pressure. Otherwise, his system just won't work.
Shout out to, I got to throw it in here, David McElrath jumping in with an order in real time. We're seeing the orders just flying in. David, obviously a name that we recognize as a bona fide Super Chat superstar. Love you, big dog. And Mike's saying, I'm excited for the future of the Broncos under head coach Sean Payton. Go Broncos. And Buckham. That's with a B, YouTube. That's with a B. Just like it says here from Ryan on Facebook. That's with a B. Tom, what's up, bro? Thank you for the super chat. He says, guys, pardon me, Gardner Minshew or Mike White as the backup quarterback. Zach, you want to see some Minshew mania in the Mile High City?
We're still talking about him. Why? I no offense to you, Tom. A lot of people bring up Gardner's name, and a lot of fan bases like Gardner. I just don't see, maybe as a backup, I guess I can get on board, but not for an excessive amount of money. And I wouldn't want him to think that he's one snap away from overtaking Russ on a non-injury basis. I'd rather have someone who's more of a team player. And that's why Taylor Heineke or Jacoby Brissett would make a ton of sense. I think Mike White stays in New York. They're going to bring in probably Aaron Rodgers, and he's a good young backup to have behind A-Rod.
David, buying a t-shirt and throwing down a super. Thank you, brother. Ordered two. Said, good evening, Broncos country, Chad and Zach, MHH for life. Denver Broncos for life. Just ordered 2 Buckham t-shirts. Legend. You're a legend. We love you, David. Thank you, big dog. Garth Knight jumping in. Appreciate you, bro. He says with a super chat, the only thing more disastrous than last season was to the Broncos was what The Last Jedi did to Star Wars. Buckham. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good analogy, because the whole point of the Last Jedi plot, and this is straight from the horse's mouth, this is what the writer-director said, was at every point in the plot, it was to subvert audience expectations. So, Zach, if we're going to apply that to the Denver Broncos, that's exactly what the Ryan Johnson of the Denver Broncos last year, Nathaniel Hackett, did. Whatever your expectations were, offensively, this player, that player, this unit, that unit, he subverted those expectations. So quite apropos. Thank you, Garth.
Yeah, I'm not a Star Wars guy, so a lot of that went over my head, but I am a Broncos guy, and Buckham, I tend to agree with that. Buckham, let him hate. If people are doubting Sean Payton or what Russell Wilson could do, Buckham. That's why he coined that in the first place. I love it.
That's right. And I love that. Mike wants to know, who will have a breakout year, Sutton or Judy under Sean Payton? My answer to that, Zach, is yes.
I think it was who had the article, Chad, that compared
Lance, very good article too, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's why, the talk about trading Cortland Sutton is a little premature because he could be the Michael Thomas, the big slot receiver. And Jerry Jeudy already broke out for my money last year, and that was under, Nathaniel Hackett and Russ playing the worst ball of his career. So with better quarterbacking, better coaching, and better everything, Jeudy is going to be not maybe the Justin Jefferson or CD Lamb tier, but he's going to skyrocket up to being a top 10 guy in the NFL before it's too long.
Mark Ward, thank you for jumping in with a super chat, big dog. He says, Zach sure can hatch a phrase. Price of eggs, egg on our face. Love it. Butts in seats. That's why you guys show up, all right? We do the best we can here at MHH to keep you entertained, right? As the great gladiator Maximus once said, right? Are you not entertained? Love it.
Great movie. Appreciate the compliment, Mark. And it's always, the gears are always turning in my head. And Chad said it's the mind of writers. So that's what we do.
It's so fun getting to do what we do, and not only write about football and write about the Broncos, but get on these podcasts and have these conversations with y'all. Seriously, we pinch ourselves every single day. We're very, very lucky dudes, and we know that to be true. So
because
thanks.
Of y'all.
Exactly. And that's why. So thanks to each and every one of you. All right. We're at 41 minutes, Zach. So I am going to do a quick perusal of the chat. See anything interesting that jumps out topically that we haven't grabbed or question that is intriguing. And this one from Dr. Van Nostrand on YouTube. Would anyone take Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, or Andy Dalton? Because, it's interesting, though, that trio, obviously he's talking about very recent New Orleans Saints. If we're just talking about, hey, we need a better fail-safe behind Russ because let's just maintain that Elway-esque expectation of success, we're going with plan A, you still have to have something. And even Elway ended up making sure he had some kind of a plan B just in case, because football's dangerous, right? Dudes get hurt on the reg. And what was the actual plan B to Peyton Manning? None other than a second-round pick invested in the first of two giraffes that John Elway brought in from the draft, Brock Osweiler. So back to the question, Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, of that trio of names, in terms of balancing locker room chemistry and all that stuff, and also relative to what they could provide if their number was called, dude, I would be totally down for Andy Dalton as the backup quarterback in Denver for 2023 in the event that Russell Wilson suffered an injury that would cause him to miss time.
Yeah, I was going through it in my head kind of one by one. Let's eliminate Jameis Winston. I don't want my quarterbacks eating W's. And I'm pretty sure even after getting LASIK eye surgery, he's still legally blind based on the way he plays. Taysom Hill is a gadget player, and I'm pretty sure he has like $100 million contract or whatever the Saints, whatever, shenanigans they did with the salary cap, how they signed him. They could get a guy like him in the draft, but in this day and age, the two quarterback system doesn't work. Andy Dalton is a better version of Brett Rippon, not by a lot, and he's, 36 now or whatever. He's up there in age, but you could do a lot worse. And if he were to have to step in for a game, a series, or play, I wouldn't feel like the season was over. So I would not mind, like you said, Chad, Andy Dalton being the QB2.
By the way, congrats to Stephen Baumgartner, a longtime member of our community. Says, I've been busy with wedding planning. That's dope, dude. Congrats to you. That's great news. Logan wants to know, is the Gronkowski thing for real? Is he coming to the Broncos, or are they just shooting the bull? In case you missed it, Sean Payton, Zach, making the rounds, fulfilling what remained of his Fox Sports obligations. By the way, those obligations are now met. 100% of his focus, Denver Broncos. Over the weekend, Radio Row, Super Bowl media, all that stuff. He put out a tweet that showed a Broncos jersey, and with the B in Broncos crossed out and a G put there, right? So Broncos. And then he tagged Gronkowski, and at the bottom he said, let the recruitment begin. A couple exclamation points. Zach, I did not read into this. I wrote the article because it was newsworthy, but I did not read into this anything more than having some fun.
Yeah.
Poking at a colleague, two ships passing in the night. One's kind of on his way in, one's on his way out as far as Fox Sports Media. Guys, don't go thinking Gronkowski's coming here. Now, it is the NFL, so never say never, right? But still, that does has Gronk shown any interest or sign that he wants back in the league? Haven't seen it, dude. And now that Tom Brady's officially out, retired, I think Gronk leaves his legacy where it is right now, which is nicely nestled in the shadow. You want to talk about mighty oaks, all right, of the Tom Brady legacy. He's good. Gronk, he's going to be okay. He's made his many tens of millions. He's going to the Hall of Fame. How many rings does he have? 2 different clubs. He's good. So it's all in fun, I think.
It is, and I think you laid it out perfectly. It's 2 colleagues and 2, I'm sure, friends just kind of being playful and shooting the bull. So buck him with that rumor. I don't think Gronkowski is coming to Denver. And really quickly, I like to address the criticism that we do get. It's not a lot, but SSR says, Dalton, binge watch. You guys don't watch enough games or film. I actually watched literally every single game, at least the highlights from this season. And I've been on record as saying the Saints are the most boring team in the NFL. And Andy Dalton had a lot to do with that. But we're not talking about Dalton as a starter. We're not talking about him being the franchise savior. As a backup who would come in under emergency circumstance only, he can keep you afloat. He can run the offense and keep it respectable. As a backup quarterback, that's all you want. Not a lot of Patrick Mahomeses are holding clipboards behind starters, SSR.
And we're talking about, if it were Andy Dalton as that plan B, we're talking about Sean Payton, which is a far cry from the coaching, the schematic wherewithal, the X's and O's, all of that swagger, the juice, the cachet that Payton brings to the table. That's a far cry from what he was getting in his 1 year with the Saints. Zach.
I just washed is a very subjective term, and I think it comes down to what you see on film from Andy Dalton. No one was expecting under Dennis Allen last year for the Saints to be at Sean Payton's level, but he's also I was thinking when you were talking, he would also come cheap or cheap-ish. A 1-year contract, $4 or $5 million bucks. Maybe compared to someone like Jacoby Brissett, who had a good year in Cleveland, holding it in for or holding the fort for Deshaun Watson. If he wants $10-12 million, you just cannot allocate that money to a backup when you're paying Russ $245 million. So the fact that he'd be cheap-ish, he knows Sean Payton's system, and he has enough left in the tank, in my opinion, to at least hold the fort if something were to go wrong. That's why we're speculating. But if they don't sign him, would Chatter I cry? No, he's an option that we're not saying no to.
We love seeing this. Roy Osborne on Facebook saying the TV goes off when the podcasts come on. Love that, dude. That's killer. Maybe we'll make that a t-shirt. Phil McLaughlin says, I think if Greg Dulcich, the tight end, stays healthy, he could be a big help next year. Guaranteed. Book it, guys. We talked about who was the question? Was it from Mike? Who's going to have the bigger breakout year? 2023, is it going to be Judy? Is it going to be Sutton? Throw Greg Dulcich into that mix, dude, because, man, think about the tight end production that traditionally existed with Sean Payton in New Orleans, whether it was Jeremy Shockey back in the day, then it became Jimmy Graham. Those dudes know how to get open in the Sean Payton scheme. So that bodes well for Greg Dulcich. We don't know what the future holds for Albert Okwuegbunam. I believe he'll go ahead and play out last year? Yeah, because Drew is 19. Alberto is 20, 21, 22. Yeah, his last year in Denver. Zach, your thoughts on that, and then we'll wrap it up for tonight.
Really quickly, because I'm super petty, I'm looking up Andy Dalton's stats, and he threw for almost 3,000 yards last year, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I know it's not trailblazing stuff, but that's more than what Russell Wilson threw.
But wait, Zach, you're being a box score scout right now, dude. I mean, you're basing your opinion off the box scores. I mean, dude.
I know. I mean, it's terrible of me, but I'm comparing a quarterback 1 to a potential quarterback 2. And again, we're not looking for Andy Dalton to come in and save the franchise. In terms of tight ends, though, I made the same point last night. You don't need Gronkowski, even if the pursuit was legitimate, because Dulcich is your tight end of the future, tight end 1. Whatever happens with Alberto, I mean, that's the cherry on top, but you have a bona fide long-term starter in Greg Dulcich, who surpassed all expectation, by the way, in year 1. That's the hardest position, maybe except for quarterback, to transition from college to the NFL. And not only was he dealing with that, he was also hurt with that hamstring injury, like so many other Broncos players, for the majority of the season. You don't need Gronkowski. You don't have to splurge at tight end, even though Sean Payton might want to. You have your guy in Dulcich, and that's coming from someone who hated that draft pick when it was made.
Dylan, very well put. Brett Rippon is smart, and he's a lot more fiery than I knew. I mean, when I talked to this dude, Zach, at the combine, he was like very demure, a quiet confidence, but emphasis on the quiet. To see him all fired up and getting in the grill of Dalton Reisner, like that surprised me. I loved seeing it. Just that passion, the fire, the principle of the matter. Guys, pick your guy up. Let's go. I love that. But yes, as Dylan says, very limited as a quarterback. So they gotta upgrade the room, and that starts really just with getting a better fail-safe in the event injury befalls Russ. Zach, and with that, unless you got anything else, let's have our parting messages to the peeps.
Emphasis on limited as well when you watch Brett Rippon play. I mean, his deep ball, those ducks that he threw were just painful and cringeworthy. The sooner he gets out of playing and goes into coaching, a la Kellen Moore or Mike Kafka, the better for Brett Rippon.
Tom, thanks, dude. We did almost miss it. Thanks for throwing that in there. Sorry, bro, but we got you. We got you. He says, sign one quarterback and draft one. You should draft a QB every year if you don't have a top 10 quarterback, a la Mahomes, Herbert, Hurts, Allen. And I'm saying at least late round. Yeah, it's not a bad philosophy. What you've got to factor in, though, is darts at the dartboard relative to how is it helping your team compete this year, and especially in a season where you don't have the traditional quiver full of arrows, let's just say, in the draft. So you got to make each one of those non-premium round picks, man, really count.
Tom, I agree with you. I was wanting the Broncos to draft a quarterback last year in the late rounds, just someone you can groom under Russ. The thing is, though, we don't know that Russ isn't or won't be a top 10 quarterback. I mean, I know he wasn't last year. He played career worst football, but there were definite glimpses of hope and promise for the future. And now paired with Sean Payton, it's not out of the realm of possibility at all that he can return a top 10 status.
Greg, there's every reason to believe Tim Patrick is going to be good to go by training camp. It's not going to be the type of situation because he is coming off an ACL where training camp opens and he's out there running full reps with all the other healthy wideouts. They will put him on a little bit of a pitch count initially, but he's going to be good to go because his injury happened. By the time you get to training camp, he'll be a year into his recovery. So that bodes well for him hitting the ground running, Zach.
And unlike Javonte Williams, it wasn't a multiple ligament or, he didn't just shred his knee, unlike, unfortunately, Javonte. So, yeah, it's a mental thing, getting back to cutting on that knee and having, no mental roadblocks or psychological roadblocks. But physically, TP should be good to go. And he's going to be a massive boost for Russell Wilson in that passing offense.
With that, guys, we're going to leave you with some parting messages. Don't bail quite yet. Stay with us.
Yeah, that was the Mile High Huddle podcast. Thank you all for tuning in with us. If you're not doing so, follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod, the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our vacationing producer at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch, new product, and new website, mhhmerch.com. If you want the Buckham shirt like we've been, showing off all night, there it is right there in all its glory. Go get you one. They're selling fast. They're going to go fast. mhhmerch.com. Check it out. And if you haven't done so, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Be sure you're liking that page and following that page. If you guys do want a Buckham shirt, we're going to give one away to those or one person who leaves a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leave that review for your football priest to enter for a chance to win that shirt that you see right there. Or if you're listening, the brand new Buckham shirt that we've launched today. But if anything, guys, please, and gals, subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like y'all.
We did put the direct link to the Buckham t-shirt in the chat. And then we'll put it in the description of this video afterward. So look for that, guys. Smash the link. Much love and respect to these great Super Chat superstars and Facebook supporters tonight. Phil McLaughlin, Michael Ronquillo, Sam Bam, Woofy Malat, Drake, Chris Chances, Riptide, Naj Altaf, The Duchess, Michaela Parker, Gary Palmer, the swashbuckler himself, Antonio Aragon, Dave from Georgia, legend, Tom Lockhuff, love you, big dog. We didn't forget about you. David McElrath, love you. Garth Knight, Mark Ward, much love and respect to each and every one of you. Another reminder, no Broncos for breakfast tomorrow. Pretty sure, though, everything clicks back into the normal rhythm as far as morning show, night shows, starting Thursday morning. And that just also happens to be when Zach and I get to talk with you all next. And by the way, guys, new Bridge the Gap song, next single dropping Thursday. Watch for that. Go to the Bridge the Gap social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Pre-save the link. You'll get notified when it drops. Can't wait to hear what you guys think of the song.
Thursday is going to be a big day all around. Can't wait to talk to you then. Have a great start to your week, guys. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.